Hi, I'm Tim. This is the fifth and final lesson in the rock guitar series. In this lesson, you'll learn some riffs in the style of iconic rock guitar players Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones, and Jimi Hendrix. You can use these riffs to play the songs in the play chapter of this lesson. All three of these players remain influential in rock music to this day. Their style is heavily derived from the blues, so if you like this type of playing, be sure to check out the Blues Guitar series that'll teach you a lot more about that style. Have fun. Jimmy Page is best known as the guitarist for Led Zeppelin. He began his career as a session musician in London in the 1960s and then became a member of the Yardbirds, the band that also launched the careers of Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck. With Led Zeppelin in the 1970s, he pioneered many rock guitar techniques. This first Jimmy Page style riff uses notes from the E blues scale. It goes like this. Start with an open E, then quickly add your first finger on A at the 5th fret of the 6th string. Walk up 3 half steps with your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd fingers. Then move across to the 5th string and play an E at the 7th fret with your 3rd finger. Play that much with me using an alternate picking pattern. 3 and 4 and. The next part sounds like this. Play a B flat on the 6th fret of the 6th string with your 2nd finger. Walk down the string to an A with your 1st finger. Then move down the neck to play a G with your 1st finger on the 3rd fret. To an open E 6th string. Then finish with a D on the 5th string with your 3rd finger at the 5th fret. Play that part. 1 and 2. Now put both parts together. 3 and 4 and. The second part of the riff is just like the first, except when you walk down the 6th string, you don't play an open E. The walk down goes B flat, A, G, E, then up to D. And the second time through it goes B flat, A, G, no E, up to the D. Play the second part of the riff with me. 3 and 4 and. Now put both parts together with the different endings. 3 and 4 and. Try it a little faster. 3 and 4 and. Once you're comfortable with this entire riff, you can move it across the strings to start on the 5th string like this. Try that with me. 3 and 4 and... Playing this riff on the E string and on the A string makes it work over an E chord and an A chord. You'll use this riff over both of those chords in the song in the play chapter. The second Jimmy Page style riff goes like this. This one is based on an open A chord. Start by barring the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings at the 2nd fret with your 1st finger for an open A. Then use your 2nd finger to reach over and play the G on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. When your 2nd finger is on the G, let it touch the 5th string so the open A is muted. For the riff, you'll play some of the strums with this finger on the G, and the others with it lifted for a normal A chord. The tricky part about this riff is getting the strumming rhythm to sound right. Start by practicing the rhythm with muted strings. Keep your strumming hand going in a down, up motion throughout the riff. Think of this count before you start strumming. Down, up, down, 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 up. 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 Now play the A chord, adding the G using your 2nd finger like this. Try that with me. 3 and 4 and... Now a little faster. 3 and 4 and... Once you're comfortable playing the riff like this, there are 2 more elements you can add to it. They aren't necessary, but they give the part some character. First, during the rests, you can play 3 downstroke muted strums like this. To lead back into the first riff, you can add a slow bend on the B flat at the 3rd fret of the 3rd string with your 3rd finger at the end of the riff. Like this. You can play this riff as the chorus to the song in the play chapter. The third Jimmy Page style riff goes like this. This one is built using 3 chords. The first is a B 5th string bar chord at the 2nd fret. If you aren't familiar with bar chords, you can check out the glossary for a more detailed explanation. From the B chord, go to an open D chord, then to an open A chord. Strum those 3 chords with this rhythm. Down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up. Play that with me. 2, 3, 4. You can add an optional variation to this riff by playing the D chord in a slightly different way. Bar the top 4 strings with your first finger at the 2nd fret. Add your second finger to the 2nd string at the 3rd fret. The top 3 notes are the same as a D chord, just fingered in a different way. Then try adding your 3rd finger to the F sharp at the 3rd fret of the 4th string. Playing the D like this changes the lowest note of the chord from the root D to an F sharp. The chord is now called a D with an F sharp in the bass, or simply D over F sharp. Try the riff using the D over F sharp. 2, 3, 4. You can use this riff to play the bridge of the song in the play chapter. Keith Richards is the guitarist and co-songwriter for the Rolling Stones. He's known for his distinctive guitar parts that combine elements of rhythm and lead guitar. He often uses alternate tuning, or a capo, to create his unique riffs. His style is heavily influenced by early rock and roll guitarist Chuck Berry, and by blues players like Muddy Waters and Jimmy Reed. The Keith Richards style licks you'll learn in this lesson use a capo at the 7th fret. This transposes the guitar to the key of B. The first Keith Richards style riff goes like this. The first part is based on an open E-shaped power chord. Bar your first finger 2 frets up from the capo on the 5th and 4th strings and play the bottom 3 strings. The rhythm is critical to the feel of this riff. It uses a shuffle eighths down-up strumming pattern like this. Play that with me using the E-shaped power chord for a measure, then muted strums for a measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now add your 3rd finger to the 5th string, 4 frets above the capo. Adding this note to the power chord on the 2nd and 4th beat creates a Chuck Berry style boogie shuffle rhythm. Try it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. From the E power chord, there's a quick A power chord at the end of the measure, like this. Just move your first finger over one string so the 4th string is open and your first finger is at the 2nd fret. Play that with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. To get this riff sounding right, take some time to practice the down-up strumming rhythm on muted strings like this. Then you can try adding an accent with a stronger strum on the 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The second part is a higher melody riff. It goes like this. Start with a D sus2 shape with your first finger on the 3rd string 2 frets above the capo, and your second finger on the 2nd string 3 frets up from the capo. Strum just the top 4 strings. Then lift up your first finger, then add your 3rd finger to the 4th string 4 frets up from the capo. Play those 3 chords with me. Again. This part starts on the second beat of the second measure of the riff, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Play that with me using a down, down, up strumming rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now put both parts of the riff together. 1, 2, 3, 4. The song in the play chapter uses the capo at the 7th fret, but you can try it on your own with the capo in different places to hear the riff transposed to other keys. The second Keith Richards style riff goes like this. Play the first part of the riff on the lower strings. Start on an open G chord shape with your second finger on the 6th string, 3 frets up from the capo, and your first finger on the 5th string, 2 frets up from the capo. Using the same strumming rhythm, play the upstrokes by using the other fingers of your fretting hand to mute the strings between each upbeat, like this. Try that with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. At the end of the first measure, you can add a single note line that goes like this. With your first finger on the 5th string, slide from the 1st fret up from the capo to the 2nd fret from the capo. Then play an open 4th string, back to your 2nd finger on the 6th string, 3 frets up from the capo. 1, 2, 3. Pick the 5th string with a downstroke, the 4th string with an upstroke, and the 6th string with a downstroke. Let's try that a few times. 1, 2, 3. Now add that to the upbeat strumming part. 1, 2, 3, 4. The last part of the riff comes at the end of the second measure. It's an answer to the single note line at the end of the first measure. It goes like this. This part uses a 2-note chord with a first finger bar across the 3rd and 4th strings, 3 frets up from the capo. Slide down 1 fret, then play the 2 strings open. Play the first chord with an upstroke, slide down without strumming, then play the open 2 strings with an upstroke. Play that much. 1, 2, 3. Add that to the upbeat strumming part. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now play the entire riff, alternating between the single note ending to the first measure and the 2-note chord ending to the second measure. Start the riff with a downstroke on the first beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Use this riff, along with the first Keith Richards style riff, to play the song in this lesson. Jimi Hendrix was an extremely influential guitarist in the 1960s. Like the other guitarists featured in this lesson, his musical style was largely inspired by the blues. He's considered to be the originator of many guitar techniques that have become fundamental to rock music. The first Hendrix-style riff uses notes from the E minor pentatonic scale. It goes like this. Start with your third finger sliding up to the B on the 4th string at the 9th fret. Across to the D with your first finger on the 3rd string at the 7th fret. Back to the B. Then a quick hammer-on from your first finger to a 3rd finger E on the 3rd string. To play this part, use an alternating down, down, up, down picking pattern. Play it with me a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next part of the riff goes like this. Start with a D using your first finger on the 3rd string at the 7th fret. Then your 3rd finger on the B at the 9th fret on the 4th string. Then without picking, slide to an A at the 7th fret. Then again without picking, pull off to the G 2 frets down. And finish on the E with your 3rd finger on the 5th string at the 7th fret. I'll play that part a few times so you can get the feel of it. Try that part with me. Now add that to the first part, a little faster this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. The riff ends with a short phrase that goes like this. Start with your first finger on the G at the 5th fret of the 4th string, and hammer on to the A at the 7th fret with your 3rd finger. Back to the G with your first finger, then down to the E with your 3rd finger at the 7th fret of the 5th string, then slide down. Try that a few times. Now put all 3 parts of the riff together. Play it slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can add a classic Hendrix detail to the transitions between each repeat of the riff. He would often blur the line between major and minor by using both major and minor thirds in his riffs. Try playing a G sharp on the 6th fret of the 4th string before you repeat the riff each time, like this. This riff can be pretty challenging at first. especially when you try to play it at faster speeds. Keep your hands relaxed and don't worry if you can't hit all the notes in the faster passages. One of the defining characteristics of the Hendrix sound was a loose, sliding quality, so try to concentrate on the feel and rhythm first, and the notes will get easier with practice. The second Hendrix style riff is almost exactly like the beginning of the first riff, but it's played over the A chord rather than the E. It goes like this. With your third finger, slide up to the E on the 5th string at the 7th fret, and use the same fingering as the first riff, transposed to this new starting note. For the quick slide down part, don't pull off to the C. Instead, play a G on the 3rd fret of the 6th string as the last note of the riff. Try that riff a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Use this riff, along with the first Jimi Hendrix style riff, to play over the E and A chords for the song in the play chapter of this lesson. The third Hendrix style riff goes like this. Start with your first finger on the E at the 7th fret of the 5th string. Then hammer on with your third finger to the F sharp at the 9th fret. Finish with a 2-note chord at the 7th fret with your first finger barring the 3rd and 4th strings. Play that slowly using a downstroke on the first note, then hammer on to the second note to an upstroke on the chord. The most challenging part about this one is the feel. The phrase is a repeated pattern of 3/8 notes called a triplet rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So your strum will line up on a different beat than you might expect. You can work on this riff in the practice chapter of this lesson, then get a feel for how it sits in the groove of the song in the play chapter. The sound of the E7 sharp 9 chord is so identified with the music of Jimi Hendrix that many guitarists refer to it as either the Hendrix chord or the Purple Haze chord. It sounds like this. To play it, place your second finger on the 7th fret of the 5th string, your first finger on the 6th fret of the 4th string, your third finger on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and your 4th finger on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. Strum all the strings. Once you're comfortable with the first Hendrix riff, you can add this chord at the end like this. It may be a challenge to get your fingers into this chord shape quickly enough to play it while you're also playing the riff, so practice it slow at first. Play the first Jimmy Page style riff in E. 3, 4. Play the riff in A. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play the strumming pattern for the second Jimmy Page style riff using muted strings. 2, 3, 4. Play the whole riff. 2, 3, 4. Play the third Jimmy Page style riff with the open D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play the riff using the D over F sharp. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play the E shuffle rhythm for the first Keith Richards style riff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play the entire riff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play the upbeat strumming pattern for the second Keith Richards style riff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play the whole riff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play the first Hendrix style riff at a slow tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Try the same riff a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play the second Hendrix style riff at a slow tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Two, 3, 4. Now try it a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Play the third Hendrix-style riff at a slower tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play it a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play the first Hendrix-style riff and add the E7 sharp 9 chord to the end. We'll start slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now try it a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4.